Alright, this order is going to the Beaver state. Got a George and got a Washington, and got some fans for a Washington. So I no longer have any fans. This was the last set that I have. So if anyone wants to order a Washington, I would just recommend sourcing your own fans, because I'm probably not going to carry the fans going forward since they're readily available online and stuff. It's just one of those things. I don't really like to have a lot of accessories and various other microphones and stuff. A lot of the other microphones I offer are more like a drop ship, so that kind of thing. I don't need to have those here because I don't do a lot of local sales or anything where I really need to carry stuff here. So hopefully that makes sense. But the fans are going to be installed here, and first we'll do this George. This will be a quick one on these, but these are nice radios in their own right. So two really nice radios here. One is a little more advanced. If your only concern is CB, go with this, because this is just going to confuse you if you don't understand the amateur side of the hobby. Then I would not recommend buying a 10-12 amateur radio if you only want to do this. It just makes more sense, because that way you're not confusing yourself and stuff. One more reason why I don't want to carry the Washington fans and put them on when I set up the radios is they don't fit in the box right after you put them on. So the box is like partially pushed open and stuff, and it's just very difficult. So it's easier for the user once they receive the radio. Just pop the lid and just plug them into the circuit board and then screw them on, you know, if you want to put some fans on it. They come with these little replacement stickers. It's not a big deal if you don't put them on or anything. The radios come with a 2-year warranty, so whether you put the sticker on or not, I don't think really matters, because they know you have to open the lid anyways to put the fans on, and there's nothing to adjust in there anyways, so there's really nothing to worry about. But I just want to put that out there, that it makes it very difficult to put that Washington back in the box and then shut it. So this is the George right here. Alright, so this is the George's FM deviation, so we're going to give it some more. So it ends at about 2.15. So I'm just going to give it 2.1. Right around that range anyways. 2.1 is good. FM power is 4 and 1. So AM power will be the same, 4 and slightly below 1. Here's what it comes out of the box at. So, whoops, put that to 4, and then low power will be just under 1, maybe just a hair less, like that. Mod low. We don't want deviation mod, we want AM mod, so here we go. And we need to obviously lower this way down, because this is a lower powered radio. So we'll go to modulation analyzer, AM, key up, 85%. Let me just go back in and just touch that AM low just a little bit more. Sometimes they need just a little bit less to get that spot that I want. And I don't really think that you're going to be running this at a 1-watt carrier, but I just like it to do what it's supposed to do. And that's right around that range that I like, about 95 point something. That's how that looks, really nice, and it's perfect. So, and then if we go back to here, I mean, real low power, but perfect looking signal, about 3.3 watts peak with the test tone, so it's good. High power, let's see, high power mod. Actually kind of caught it a big peak at first. It's about 15.5 right now. And the peak's a little wider bandwidth because we're doing more power, of course, so that's why it looks like that. 85% again. That's what it looks like there. So I'll just kind of leave it here, and you can probably see it change a little bit as I move the adjustment. About 95.5% now. So we did bring it up a little bit more power, like 18 watts. 95.5. Spectrum analyzer, a little more depth, but all in all, really good. Bring that up just a little more now because of the power. There we go. So yeah, it's really nice. And then SSB. SSB, you're sitting at about 30, which is outstanding again. They all come in usually about that range, so you're not going to find a better CB radio ever that really tests like this. And power with the two tones of almost 10 watts. Waveform looks outstanding. So the George is a real good radio for what they are. And probably a lot of guys get sucked into the hobby because they want more power and stuff, and they go with something that looks flashy on a power meter and all that stuff. And in reality, they're probably talking either on channels 1 through 40, and that's really the only where they really talk. So do they really need all that extra stuff and spend all that extra money? All that flashy stuff, I don't really know. So let's put the mic on here and we'll just take a look at the power output now, and then we'll move on to the Washington. Transmit frequency, that's AM. It'll be perfect on sideband too. We'll find that out in a second when we test the receiver, but it's going to be good, no question about that on sideband. So this is AM power. Let's do this. So about 4 watts of carrier. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Hello, radio. Hello, radio. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's working really nice. And I'm just using a factory President handset right now. So here's SSB. This is upper sideband. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. So seeing almost numbers in the 30s, which is really good, and nothing to say, oh man, that radio is not a talker. I mean, anybody that talks on one of these, I guarantee you that you've never had an unsolicited compliment on your audio. Like, oh, I'm trying to say, I guarantee that you probably haven't asked for any audio checks. Maybe you have, but if you haven't, I bet you're getting some unsolicited reports of, man, what kind of radio are you on? That audio sounds fantastic, because they really do. So it has that modern age style audio that just, the audio is what counts. It's not the power, it's audio quality, and it's how it performs on like the spectrum analyzer and what it looks like in the equipment. Because in the real world, most guys only have a power meter to go off of, and in a lot of cases they got something that they bought at the truck stop that's $20 or $30 or $50 or even $100 or whatever, that don't really tell them much of anything. And then they have scales on it and they tell you, oh, you can see modulation percentage on it of sideband and AM, and it doesn't work like that, unfortunately. I wish we could only spend $100 and get something that could really accurately read that kind of stuff, but it just doesn't happen. So let's hook this up now and test the receive, and then this one's going back in the box and it's ready to go. Alright, here's AM receive. So it's minus 113. It's just a hair over 12, so it's probably more like minus 112 or something. So there's minus 112. So let me see if you can see that. Yeah, minus 112, 30% modulation. So go to sideband, upper side. Okay, so obviously we can go lower in amplitude now because it's sideband. So there's 129. And it's just a hair over 12, so probably like 128 and a half. There's 128, so this one is ready to go for you. Alright, so the fans just plug in like I said. If you look at your fan here, you got a red and a black and a little pin. So obviously red here, black here on each one. And then they just seat to the back of the heatsink with the screws, and then you put the grill over them to protect the spinning rotation from getting stuck or breaking or something. So here's the board of the Washington. A lot of ways it's very similar to the other radio that we see a lot of on my channel. So one thing interesting, I noticed something here interesting. I'm not really going to spend too much time on it, but I do notice a difference here. But anyways, I'm gonna do the Mars to it, and then we'll put the fans on. So first I'll do the Mars, and then we'll do the fans. Okay, there's your Mars mod, just a little 0 ohm resistor across those two pads. Fans are on. They're on, full on right now, because I just want to, it's easier for me to have them running when I put them on. That way you know which way the air is supposed to blow. So they have like manufacturer indications on them. Those are the ones that face the heatsink. So just for reference for anyone that puts these on themselves, the blank side of the fan is the back. And obviously when they're on, you can tell which side is blowing and which side is not. So you know, you can feel some good airflow. These things move some serious air off these heatsink fins. So it's really nice for that. And you just plug them in. One thing I wish they would have done is somehow incorporated some type of way to keep the wires down in the PCB area. So I did wrap around this wire harness here on the one, but it's kind of difficult. In the past couple I did heat shrink this, but then it becomes kind of cumbersome when you shut it. And actually I think maybe the heat shrink could cause it to crimp. The one thing I'm trying to avoid is these wires moving around once the cover's on. So that's what I would like to avoid. It would almost be nice if there was some way that they would put something here like you could affix it to. You could probably take like some glue or something, but I don't want to glue inside of a new radio. Maybe like some hot glue or something. You could probably hot glue them to the chassis or something like that, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to put them in the way they tell you to, which is through these little grooves. You can either do this one or you can do this one. Otherwise, I think this one might actually be better because it sits a little more flush. But that's basically it. The power limitation feature would work if we didn't have the fans running all the time. It has a built-in thermostat. When the radio reaches a certain temp, it cuts the power back itself. If you don't have the fans, if you have the fans and you have them running all the time, I don't think you'll ever see that happen. So just for a reference here, we are on the mid band, the Mars band or whatever that we would want to get for this radio. So if we go into the menu, you see temp protection 20C is basically running all the time. So that's how I'm going to leave it when I align the radio, because that way I'm not heating the radio up too much. Also, if you look here, there's arrows that point towards where it's supposed to go. So that's another reference point in. So it's telling you that you can see the description on the fans that's telling you to put them in towards the radio. So that's another thing to look for. I'm listening to 10 meter FM right now. I just heard a repeater out of Texas coming in. That's pretty cool. So we're going to go through a couple things here. I'm going to shut that off. I shut it off on your George too. Also, I'm going to go SWR here, DC. We're going to go temperature. I think that's more important than looking at DC voltage. And that's about it. Span, I'm actually going to put that on for the time being. band name. We're going to name this one CB. That's a B. I know it doesn't really look like one, but that's what it is. CBR Protect 3-0 is good. Power limitation. So if you wanted power limitation, AO is a lower power. I think I'll go through that when I do the alignment. A4 is like a CB style power. So that's like automatic. So James customer that purchased a Washington from me, I want you to pay attention to the video also at this point, because it's going to be important. You've asked me a lot of questions about the power and stuff on these, so yours is set up the same way. So temperature set Fahrenheit, we're in America, and that's good enough. So we'll go here. Actually, in span, now you have like a VFO option. This is how their VFO option works. So can't. They don't really have too much muting. If there is, it's really minimal. So I think they did an alright job in the span setting. If we shut that off, there probably is muting because we're going between channels. So let me go back and find that. I think it's this way maybe? No, it's the other way. Yeah, more muting in between channels. So if you don't like the muting effect, use the span. I would use it all the time on this radio because I could care less what the band says. I know I want to go where I want to go quickly, and this will get you there. So you want to go down to 12. Now you're in that range anyways. And you can move around however you want to move around. You want to go up to 10. You can just cycle through here. Could have went faster, but you know. I think the span is a better way to use the radio than the bands. I think the bands are something that's not necessary on this radio, and they probably shouldn't have put them in there, but nobody asked for my input, nor do they probably care what I think, but I think it would have been better suited to not have the bands in. So anyways, let's do the alignment. Alright, so this is FM power high. I'm going to make that 50. I need to do this really quick too. I want to see what kind of frequency the radio has. 998. So I mean, it's well within the spec of the radio. Unfortunately, there's no way for me to adjust that, so it's like 10 hertz low, which really isn't anything too big to worry about. But I would like to see it a little bit better. But that's how the radio is looking. So that's one thing I wish President would do, is give us a little bit more adjustability in their service mode to at least give us that option. It's kind of needed. So A0 would be this option here with the RF power up all the way and only using power limitation feature. A0, that's what we're adjusting right now. So A0, we want 10. That's what the A0 enabled in power limitation in the radio's menu with the RF power all the way up. So if you're paying attention to what I'm saying, it should make sense. Power medium. This is the A4 setting. This would be all the way up on the A4 setting. So power limitation on, A4. 4 watts, 3.8 minutes. So we're going to go there. Okay. Now this is the low power setting for A4. So if you have the RF power all the way down, this is what it's going to be. So, and in the A0 and power limitation off, you still have the ability with the RF power to fully lower anywhere you want to go. From power limitation off, it'll go 50 all the way to 1. In the A0, it'll go 10 all the way to 1. So now we're going to do TX mod FM deviation. So let's set that up. That's what I say. I think there's certain customers, when they're not ready to buy like a HF / export style radio, I think maybe they shouldn't. If you don't understand certain aspects, that's why I say that George is a really good radio. And my customer did buy a George and he really liked it. And he's still trying to grasp the differences between the Washington and the George. And I understand what he's going through without really knowing. And I think in that situation you really need to get yourself a really good quality meter. And I have gave him a few examples on that. So without a meter, you're really never going to know what you're doing unless he watches this and really pays attention. I didn't do a full-on video for him at that time. I did more of a basic video, I believe, so he can reference this. All these radios are the same. They're all set up the same when I do them, so there's really nothing too fancy about it. Just one second. Had to put our frequency on 28. That's the test frequency for this radio, is 28 megahertz. So 2.94. We're gonna bump that up a little bit for you. To about 4.1. Now this radio doesn't have an adjustable option. It's going to be 4.1 all the time. Here's going to be your AM power now, so this is another one to pay attention to. If you don't understand the radio, I'll explain it again. This is going to be what I'm going to set the radio to for the highest power. RF power is up all the way. Power limitation feature in the menu is off. So I'm going to go 16. Or really close to that anyways. Okay. RF power up all the way. A0 power limitation setting in the menu of the radio. 8 watts. Now James, yours might be 8, it might be 10, I don't remember, but I think it's probably 8. Power limitation on, A4, RF power all the way up. 4.1, 3.94. We're going to go 3.94 just for the sake of, we want the modulation just to be a little bit better. And then power limitation on, A4 in the menu, RF power all the way down. A little bit less than 1. Okay. Now we're going to do the modulation. So let's get that set up. See how it's looking, just one second. Okay, so this is low power, 1 watt carrier, A4, RF power all the way down. This is the modulation. So it's kind of low right now. Well, 95 is good. There you go, 95%. Okay. Okay, this is, again, this is going to be the A4 in the menu, power limitation, RF power all the way up. 84%. Sorry about the vacuum in the background, but this is real life here. Radios are not the main thing, so there it is. So I need to get that in here after she's done, because I like to stay on top of my shack too and get things cleaned up at times. So this is A0, RF power's up all the way. This is a typical situation that you'd be using the radio. Obviously I'm in the service portion, we're doing something way different than what most would be doing here, but I'm just trying to explain it as someone would be using the radio, what we're seeing. So this is A0, power limitation is on in the radio's menu, RF power is all the way up. I feel like I keep saying that, but it just is what it is. So right now the audio's at 89%. The dogs don't like the vacuum, they kind of attack it, so. We had a cat once too. The cat would hiss at it and stuff and like bat at it. Female cat, really cool cat. We have a cat now, but everybody except my wife or my wife is the only one he likes. So there's the audio there. Okay, this is power limitation off in the menu, RF power all the way up. He's a cool cat. He's like a tabby or whatever, male tomcat, but he is not friendly to myself or my wife. Fans don't run in the service mode, by the way, if anyone wonders. They are hooked up and on, but they're not running, so guaranteed. The radio's getting a little warm now. I can feel it, but it's all good. Alright, here it is on high power. Power limitation would be off in the menu. RF power's up all the way. 95.5. There's our audio. So that looks good. Hopefully that makes sense to everybody. What we're going to do now is check sideband out of the service portion. Fans should kick on, and yes they did. Here's the temp of the radio, so it's 116. I bet you within a few minutes it'll be much cooler. So by testing it like this right now, it gives it a good idea of how the fans will act when we put a dual tone in at full power of the radio. It should obviously, the fan should obviously keep the radio cooler, or at least maintain where it's at now. But I'm assuming once they run, they're gonna cool that radio down a lot. So if I keep one for myself, which I've thought about doing on one of these, I haven't yet, but I think I want to. Definitely probably get the fans for myself too. So if anybody wants fans, I mean, I can order them. I just prefer not to put them on because of the fact that the radio doesn't fit in the box. So I know I said in the beginning of the video with the fans, I don't really want to get them, but if you really need them and I have access to them, as long as somebody has them, I can get them. I would just prefer if you guys put them on. That way I can ship the radio in its box, because I feel like it's protected better that way. So we got to set our spectrum analyzer to 28435. I don't like it when it's hanging out the side of the box, although I box everything in an outer box anyways. It's just, I don't know. I don't like, the box is too bowed out, and I don't like to do that to the factory box. So it's just kind of like, once I started putting the fans on, it was like a pet peeve of mine that I just didn't really care for. But then again, if they would have made the box too big, then people would have said, well, there's too much voided space in the box, so what do? You know? It's one or the other. So here's the radio on transmit. There's that repeater. The guys are talking. I just shut my radio's volume off. It's in Texas. So it's not too bad. It's a little on the distortion side. Find out here in a minute what it's actually at. These fans are doing the radio is still heating up. They're on full bore, or as high as they can go anyways. They're just running. They run at one speed, I guess, only. That's good. Alright, so it's like 18. So I'm going to go in and try to make that about 24, and then we'll come back and see what happens. It should be a little cleaner anyways for you. The radio heated up to 122, SWR showing 1.2. So again, can't always go by what radios say for SWR. You can see my LP is showing about 50 ohms. About as good as you can get. And the last one's flickering a little bit. So again, having an antenna analyzer at your disposal, MFJ, Rig Expert, Comet, something is going to work. Setting up an antenna, it's much better to do it that way than use a radio. Although you can, but you know, just realize that you may not always get the most accurate number here. And there's a lot more to see besides just an SWR on an analyzer that's important. Alright, so I went a little too much. It's 27. I mean, I really like that. If this were my radio, I probably would keep it there. I'm going to make it 24. Didn't really change anything here. It actually shows 1.1 now, so that's telling you maybe that the distortion that we had before might be fooling the SWR meter in the radio a little bit. So I'm going to try to make that 24. Okay, she's right on the money, about 24. And still looking good here. Temp, it's hovering about 122 or something. I'm wondering if it'll get hotter, but most likely with the fans on, it's probably going to remain somewhere around that range, but it will get a lot hotter without the fans running. And then probably the power limitation will kick on. I think when it kicks on, the power limitation, you see like a flashing RF symbol or something there. I have seen it a couple times, but the last few orders I did on these, I had fans for them, so customers bought the fans and I put them on. So this is the two-tone waveform. So now it looks really good. So that part is done. The powers are done. So let's put a mic on this, President mic, and see what kind of power she's doing. So we'll go through this again so that everybody can understand where the power limitation is. Okay, off is off, which means full power. So that's where we're going to do our testing right now. Off. RF power is here. Key your mic. Press this button. 10. So this is no power limitation. RF power is up all the way. Max power of the radio. So check 1, 2. Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Check, check. 80 watt radio, right where it should be. Let's shut that off and come here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Nice and clean there on the spectrum analyzer. Hello radio. Hello radio. Okay, that's what it does. About 80 watts, just like they said. Power limitation A0. RF power still at full. That's all I'm going to show, though. I'm not going to go through each number and stuff because that would take hours to do all that. So power limitations on, we're in the A4 setting. So now we're doing about half the power of the radio. And this is a good way to run the radio, to be honest, because if you don't need all that extra power, which really 40 extra watts, think about it. How much is it really doing for you, you know, at the end of the day? Probably not that much. So let's check the TOI here. I bet you it's going to be a lot higher, the number. And the higher the number, the better. So just out of curiosity, guarantee it's going to be better. But I don't know until I check it. So we'll find out. Let's go with this. Okay. Peak. We're pretty much lined up, so I can. That's good. Actually, not really. About 23.89, so about the same. It's still good. Still good, but I thought it would be a little higher than that. Is all, but. 23, 24 is the number I shoot for. That looks really nice too. So again, it's power limitation. You don't need that high power. Turn it on and run less. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Check 1, 2. Basically just cuts your power in half, which is a good thing, really. In a lot of cases, you don't need to run the radio at its absolute maximum. So now we'll go into the menu. See, the radio's cooling off too. Now it's at 100. We'll go to power limitation A4. It's the most power limitation. RF power is at 10. That's full. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So really in this situation, we don't lose that much here. Maybe a little, because now it's sometimes showing numbers down in the teens. So at this level, you're not seeing much of a decrease in power. So even on sideband, you might as well run it here if you want less power. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Check 1, 2. Okay, so we'll go to AM mode and work our way backwards. So let's see here. 4 watts of carrier with power limitation on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Hello. So, you know, it's roughly 14 watts or something, I think is what it did. So a little less power here, 16 watts. Not a big powerful radio, but it's in the lowest power limitation setting, so it really shouldn't have a lot of power here, and that's where that limitation really kicks in. And it's telling the PA that, you know, we don't need all that power right now, and it ramps it down. So we'll go back in now. Obviously, if we go to the 1 watt setting with the RF power all the way down, it's going to go lower. Here's A0, which should give us, what, about 8? Should be about 8. It's picking up fan noise and all that stuff, sorry. About 8. Fans are making noise into the radio. So even at A0, then now we're doing more like I don't know, like a mid-level powered radio, 8 to 32, 34, which that's really good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Check 1, 2. And then power limitation off. Here. And it's just another way to look at it. You can also, in the power limitation off, you could use the RF power and you could kind of simulate what we're showing. Of course, there goes the vacuum again. 16 watts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Test 1, 2, test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So, again, 16 watts up into the 60 to 70 range, which is, again, really good. And nice clear signal will definitely be a pleasure for people to listen to, and clean modulation over a really loud, distorted, really dirty, bleeding your locals at like 5, 6 channels or more at a time kind of radio. So that's pretty much it. I left it on this band because it's technically where it was kind of like set up to be optimized anyways. If you go to the other band, just for the heck of it, let's just park it there. Let's see what it's doing in SSB first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So it's still about what it should do. FM, pretty much right at the 50 mark, like I said it. Let's see, AM. What are we at here? AM. And she's still cooling off. So eventually you can find a sweet point where you don't need to run the fans probably, and then you can they'll come on technically when they're needed more, but I'm just going to leave them all the way on all the time for you. You can decide what's best for you then. So there's our 16 or so, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So pretty much the same power here too. So you know, you're not really losing anything, just operating on the other band. So I hope you enjoy the radios. It's been fun setting them up for you, and I hope those that have questions about the Washington, that I was helpful and I didn't bore everybody to death with all the power limitations and menus and RF powers and all that stuff. But there's a lot of people that I guess are still learning and stuff, and like I said before, if you're still learning just about radio in general, then stay away from these 10 meter, 12 meter radios. I think you're not ready for it yet, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think that the George is a really good radio just for someone starting out with CB. And that's what a lot of us do. We start off on CB and then we really like it, and then maybe we think about getting a amateur radio license. There's not as much like bad blood between the two. There is, but there isn't. The people that are really serious about radio respect CB for what it is, and they don't have a lot of distaste and bad blood towards it, and I would consider myself one of those type of people. I really like CB, I respect it a lot, but there's a lot of things I wish weren't happening that are. But that's with anything in life, you know. We have certain things that we like and certain things that we don't, and we can't always change things. And there's also a certain aspect of the CB hobby that absolutely hate ham radio, and there's also a part of ham radio that people hate CB, and that's more of an individual basis. And people will just go and be negative on social media and stuff like that just because that's what they want to do. It doesn't mean that everybody's like that. There's a ton of nice people on both bands, and a lot of people that kind of go in between and stuff and do all kinds of, you know, CB in the daytime, maybe HF at night, VHF, UHF. You're going to find good people on radio, and then you're going to find bad people. So don't let someone ruin your taste for the hobby just because you have a couple bad instances, because there's a lot of good people out there. And I'm not saying that, you know, some guys might not be ready for a radio like this. All I'm saying is if you're still learning, some of this stuff can be more confusing than beneficial is all. So 73, I hope you enjoy the radios. Take care.